Utilising the media as a policing tool is not a recent development. The long-standing symbiotic relationship between the two has ensured the protection of the police's reputation and image, as well as promoting their aims, ideologies and ideas. In addition to this, the media also plays an integral part in facilitating the police's work of controlling and apprehending deviants. However, whereas some perspectives see the proliferation of old and new media as beneficial, others have been heavily criticised for the media strategies employed by the police. In this presentation, I'll be discussing the advantages and disadvantages of the police and control agencies employing media strategies. I approach this question by splitting it into two parts. The first section of this presentation, I will discuss the advantages and disadvantages of the police harnessing social media, not only as an investigative device, but also as a medium through which to communicate with the public. The second half of this presentation will explore the advantages and disadvantages of the police exploiting opportunities provided by television shows such as Crime Watch. Although such reality shows can be used as a public appeal for information, which may lead to the identification of a perpetrator, some have criticised them for scaremongering and inducing the public's fear of crime. Here I will use the works of Jukes to critique the police's use of media strategies. When reading the work of Davis, Alves and Skalansky, I picked up that many police chiefs were sceptical at first of employing media strategies to assist in their work. However, after reading a variety of contemporary online articles, it has become apparent that social media has become an invaluable tool for police departments, as it can be utilised in increasing police efficiency, gathering information, identifying perpetrators, mediating deterrence, and explaining police strategies and priorities to the public. It has also been fundamental in improving communications between the police and the public, and this will be the first advantage that I'll now discuss. By embracing the power of the media, police have been able to build bridges with the communities they serve, which has enabled them to uphold the Pelean notion of policing by consent. However, this wasn't always the case. Before the existence of social media, the police were very reluctant to tell the public what was happening and what they were doing about it. Of course, many people still believe this. All we have to do is look no further than the media's handling of the Mark Duggan incident to realise the very same media strategies can be used to cover up police misconduct. This disadvantage will be explored more in depth when we reach the second section of this presentation. Anyway, as documented in the works of Loader and Mulcahy, mounting pressure in the 90s from managerialist reforms forced the police to demonstrate greater efficiency and effectivity. At an operational level, forces began to utilise the media to assist in their investigative work. At a non-operational level, forces started to engage in corporate communication activities to demonstrate their effectiveness and accountability, whilst at the same time preserving their image. This proved advantageous as the police began to secure greater public approval. Anyway, with advancements in technology, for example the creation of Facebook and Twitter, social media sites have allowed the public to bypass traditional media channels and engage in direct communication with the public. Twitter especially can be used to keep the public in the know as to what's going on around them. Some police departments have harnessed Twitter to push traffic alerts, update on recent arrests, and provide general crime prevention advice. In the words of Lynn Hightower, people can now communicate with the police department as it is no longer that 800-pound gorilla that no one knows how to communicate with. This brings me to my next point. Social media can also be used to help mediate deterrence. In an effort to deter people from drink driving, Minnesota police have begun shaming offenders by tweeting live photos of drink drive arrests. Using Twitter also provides other benefits for the police. Following the death of Lee Rigby, Open Source Intelligence Unit used software to comb Twitter to analyse how people were responding. Firstly, this aids in the police's understanding of their community. Secondly, this can be used to apprehend others who may display signs of involvement in terrorist activity. However, there are obvious disadvantages to the police using social media as a crime-solving device. Although Facebook sleuthing has led to the arrests of offenders that most would deem to be fair, this is not always the case. Peaceful protesters, such as those involved in the Occupy Wall Street protests, have been arrested and convicted on the grounds of their social media activity. Also, there is also the potential that police may overlap undercover and sting operations with entrapment. Shows like To Catch a Predator clearly demonstrate this, which throws up an array of ethical issues ranging from deceit to uninformed consent. In the same way they have utilised social media, the police too use reality TV shows to aid in their day-to-day duty of crime fighting. TV shows such as Crime Watch are valuable in the respect that they can be used for public appeals for information, identifying criminals, and mediating deterrence. However, in their quest for public intelligence, some programs have been criticised for being a significant contributor to false ideas about crime through their overuse of dramatisation and fearful reconstructions. The first problem with the police's involvement in such shows is the show's dependency on the capacity to frighten viewers. The violent reconstructions and excessive dramatisation used in Crime Watch creates conflict between the police's purpose to solve crime and the production company's need to entertain. Such strategies amplify public fear that crime is spontaneous, random, and indiscriminate by actively seeking out stories that will capture the public's imagination, prompting them to come forward with information. As a result, shows concentrate on violent and serious crimes such as murder and rape perpetrated on the most vulnerable of victims, i.e. that of young girls and the elderly. Subsequently, this throws up an array of ethical issues. Crime Watch has the tendency to sexualize victims and blame them for their victimization. Murray Lee explains that such shows shift the responsibility from the state onto the individual, and because of this, society should appreciate the work that the police do. Despite this, scaremongering does provide one advantage in that it raises awareness of the issues faced by vulnerable women. Another disadvantage of the police harnessing the power of reality TV is that such shows generate fear and hostility towards certain groups of ethnic minorities. While crime involving black offenders are overrepresented, crimes involving black victims are extremely underrepresented. Furthermore, such shows fail to distinguish between ethnic groups, which promotes the mentality that anyone of a different nationality should be treated with caution. Here, it can be argued that the apparent racism of the police shines through. Crime Watch also distorts the true characteristics of offenders. In the programme, offenders are invariably represented as anonymous, isolated, and predatory, which completely contradicts the truth. This representation of offenders as senseless, predatory beings forces populist ideas of punishment, which is harmful in a time where promoting offender rehabilitation is a priority. In addition to Crime Watch giving the police unparalleled access to potential sources, it is also proven to be one of the most effective public relation exercises at their disposal. Such programs provide a safe haven for the police as they invariably present themselves in a positive light in both a professional and personable level. Whilst this has done much to improve police and community relations, it has also proven to be a powerful censorship tool. By keeping coverage of the police's faux pas out of the limelight, such programs have helped distort the image of policing, so much so the public have begun to forget the inexcusable errors they make. So here are my concluding thoughts on the police's use of employing media strategies. Ultimately, social media helps officers to do their job, to protect society. It also allows them to utilise their most valuable asset, the general public. Although this comes at the price of privacy infringement and the occasional unfair conviction, an online presence for the police is essential in the postmodern society. Employing social media strategies is just as important as traditional policing methods such as walking the beat. However, it appears the police's involvement with TV reality shows has thrown up more criticisms than it does benefits. The police have been too successful at employing media strategies, so much so it has become impossible to separate our perceptions of crime and criminality from fiction. As the police are always portrayed in a positive light, we begin to forget about the mistakes they make and the conspiracies they find themselves in. The misrepresentation of offending and victimization also skews the public's perception of crime, and because of this, a culture of governance by fear has developed. Police employing this specific type of media strategy, however, does come with its advantages. Thanks to shows like Crime Watch, appeals from families and the police alike have encouraged informants to step forward with information which has contributed to a significant number of crimes being solved. As a result, we have seen a return to the kindly benevolent consensual policing epitomised by the fictional Dixon of Dock Green. At the same time, however, it is important to realise that these same media strategies do all they can to prevent public exposés of racism and sexism in the police force, two very serious issues that require immediate addressing.